The first match of the day. Once again, we're going to be jumping into this initial best of 3 as well. And unfortunately for both teams, it leads itself to be a little bit of a mess here with the map pool going the way that it did, I would think.
Yeah, definitely. This is going to be a tough one to break. Also, we have to mention one thing. Like, yes, we can read a lot out of the statistics of the maps and in the officials that they play. We don't know what their practice is like. Maybe some of these teams have been practicing Dust 2 Overpass for the last week or so, and they have something to show us. That's what I'm hoping for. I know it's also like, you can hope for a lot of things, and not all of them will come true, but I'm just hopeful that something will happen, because if not, if it just goes the way of the statistics and all the HLTV stats, this is going to be a pretty, like, not boring game, but it's going to be not highest quality as we would want. So I'm hoping for something specific. I'm hoping for something different.
And the stats, if they are to be believed, are relatively damning, unfortunately, for both teams. For Luminosity, if we exclude their online results and any results from this tournament, they've only played Dust 2 once, and it was back at Montreal. They lost it 11-16 versus Ago. Meanwhile, on the other side, Envy have only played it twice, and that was online. Both times lost as well. So this could end up being a little bit of a mess for both teams going into it. And it's honestly very similar for the next 2 maps as well here, which makes it hard to figure out who the winner of this matchup should be, to be honest. Yeah,
it comes down to who has the most like preparation and who's pracked the most up to this tournament in these specific maps. To be honest, like, I kind of feel if you're in a tough scenario as a team and nothing is working out, then what you could do is that, yes, we have, like, let's say 6 maps in the map pool that we play, but 2 of them we're really bad on, but we can still play them. Then do work on those and make sure that, okay, if we go into a veto process, we can actually surprise the opposition, because they're not going to count on us, let's say, picking Dust 2, for example, because they know that we only have 1 bad result on it. And then you work on that a week before, and that can kind of be your pocket pick going into the best of 3. That would be, like, the way that I would go about it, but then again, like, I'm here and they're up there on the stage, so you never know.
Very true. There's also the individual question when it comes to these teams as well. The analysts has discussed a lot, a bit of a mismatch when it comes to the individual personalities on Luminosity, at least when it comes to the opera role. And Envy, being as new as they are, still very much trying to figure out their identity in some sense. So there could be some player changes that may or may not be in the mix there as well. It's a lot in the air, certainly, for both of these teams, and we're going to find out how exactly it will all evolve into the matchup right now, as we're going live with our first map of the day. It's going to be on Dust 2. Envy will lead the charge on T-Sign, while Luminosity will defend the sights from the CT side of this map to start off the first half. And already Cutler striking true with a first pickup, followed up quickly by Polio on the second kill. Penny as well taking quite a bit of damage, so not the best start for Luminosity here.
Nick is coming down into mid after taking an initial one. Second headshot coming in for him, still in the back of T mid, but also taken out by Polio. And now Nekis has to pretty much take a 4K to clutch this round out. Interesting to see the kind of refrag setup going into mid from the CTs did not work out at all. I kind of like the idea. If you want to push for early aggression, don't just commit 1 player, because he can easily be taken out, at least have a refrag potential. But the second player just didn't manage to do anything. Now Nekis is in a 1v1 though. This can definitely happen.
He's got the position on Polio. He's going to try to shift around a little bit here, but Nekis makes the push, has him down low, and is going to be able to take him out as Nekis pulls out an incredible clutch on the pistol to bring LG into the fold and steal away the opening pistol out of the hands of Envy.
You can see also, like, from the face of the coach, and see, like, that was not supposed to happen. We're very happy with getting the pistol, but that's nothing, like, we can't consistently count on this happening. This is a once-in-a-map thing.
That was
just pulls that out.
Quite literally a 1v4 he just pulled off there. So, good start of the day for Nekis, that's for sure, and it's certainly a surprising one for Luminosity as they get onto the board early here.
2 AKs. This is something that we do see a lot after the money change. They either go for full eco or go for the 2-3 AK force buys. And we see it for now just changing up. Penny with the MP9 also be taken out on long. So what they're basically doing is saying, okay, we got 2 to 3 rifles. We're going to go the place that we can take long-range duels, because the opposition are going to be on UMPs, MP9s, maybe a FAMAS. On long, we have the advantage with the AKs. And that's the right choice in this scenario. Very nicely done by Envy. They know what they have to work with, and they put it to use.
And so now it's going to cause a big diversion here, as Luminosity have had to split up their remaining 2 players. Yell kind of holding guard in his current position over towards the A-bomb site, with Steel playing a much more aggressive position, pushing himself all the way over towards T-spawn at this point. and ready to move in on a flank. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be a little bit too late to have any real effectiveness on this flank unless Envy keep this very slow pace and are held back by Yell, but I doubt that's going to happen considering he only has the scout to hold off this cross angle now, and even he's already backing up to try and take up a new position towards Cat here. To hopefully give Steel a little bit more room to work with from long, but no, won't be the case. Nifty immediately takes him down as soon as he peeks out, and that should pretty much settle things for this round, meaning Envy are going to have the immediate trade of round, tying things up at 1-1.
Yeah, very confident from Envy here, going straight into the double AK round. 2 AKs, 1 Galil. And when crossing, only dropping 1 smoke, even though they have a secondary smoke. So they're keeping the secondary smoke and saying, yes, we're going to risk the gap on crossing long, but we're going to keep that smoke for the potential post plant and then just smoke off short or smoke off something else. So they're thinking further ahead in the round. They're not just thinking about, okay, let's get to the bomb site and then whatever happens, happens. They actually have a plan going forward. And that's what I want to see. Like, I want to see some structure out of these teams because we haven't seen a lot of pre-planned structure, a lot of like good strategical setups so far for these two teams. And seeing them deliver it today it's a nice touch. It's good to see. It gives me hope for the future. JDM definitely needs some hope, but hits the first one against Penny. Goes for the second duel. This is, of course, not a buy round from the CT side, but still, it's always nice to see him do something good with the good all-out there.
And more importantly, it pushes back some of this early aggression we were potentially going to be seeing from Luminosity too, so kills some of those early plans. Lets Envy breathe a little bit here in the early round too, and just makes it a little bit more of an easier affair for them to try and get through compared to the chaos that would have unfolded had Luminosity committed to that 2 or 3 man push that they were trying to do through the doorway. JDM, once again, getting the better of another duel here at the mid doors, is able to dispatch of Nekis and brings Luminosity down to just 3 now. They've got a little bit of a pinch on mid, but nothing that will more than likely be able to find any major impact here. Lucas, if he can get a close duel, he's probably got a good chance to get at least 1 kill on that Deagle. Other than that, as long as Envy remain nice and tightly grouped here, they should be able to counter that pretty quickly.
That's a nice one, Deek. Do remember that Lucas does not have armor, so in that duel, technically the M4A4 is actually really nice because he doesn't have any armor. But he wins it anyway. Same with the C-Set 75 against 50. Koyo trying to clean up towards short. Lucas has already grabbed the weapon though, so this is definitely doable. 2v2, low HP, yes, on the CT side, but compared to what they came in with into this round, this is actually a pretty nice end of the round for them. They have a decent chance of getting something done. LG
are doing great work to, at the very minimum, make this a very messy round for Envy and make it costly at that. Lucas, though, is going to be challenged here in a moment, and unfortunately, he won't really have support from Steel. This is all going to be on him, and at low HP, can't last very long. The Op will quickly dispatch of him, at least Steel alone with an AK in hand. He will probably be more inclined to try and save this, but we'll see how he decides to follow it up. At the very minimum, he is going to work his way through the mid doors and out to the top to try and see if he can fish anything out from Cat. However, as you can quite see, nothing is going to be found there, and it looks like he's backing up into the lower tunnels to save now, which means Envy will take the round and the lead at that. Now 2-1.
One thing to remember is exactly what you said. They make it costly. 2 weapons surviving, yes, they bring the AWP into the next round. That's always nice, but it's a lot of money that Envy have to reinvest into this round. So that's at least the good part about it for Luminosity. Yes, they lose the round, but they keep the economy down, so whenever they string 1 or 2 rounds together, they'll have Envy straight on an eco after that. That's always nice that even though you're losing rounds, you can still keep the economy at bay.
And yeah, of course, it's still early days here for Envy, so we aren't going to see anyone moving in to hunt down that last man alive there on the other side of the fence. Going to be a pretty straightforward affair there on the post plant once it was brought down in the 1v2. And again, it was JDM that found most of the early successes for Envy that kind of opened up an easier opportunity to take Cat control with those 2 picks that were happening in mid. And of course, the 3rd kill that was followed upon on the actual A site when they pushed up Cat.
This time around, apart from that AK-47 saved, it's going to be no investment pretty much. And that's why my good man Cuddler here is coming in with a MAC-10. Just needs to farm some money, get some frags, put him in first, clear some areas. And yes, he has a lot of utility, but apart from that, he's definitely expendable in this round. They're not going to be angry about losing him because that MAC-10 investment doesn't really matter that much. But if he can get, let's say, 2-3 kills with it, that's perfect for the T side. And that's exactly what the CT side see. They hear that MAC-10 and then they draw back because there's no reason to go into the MAC-10 and just give him free money. Rather rotate away and die to an AK, or if you really can, die to an AWP or a Molotov or something like that. That's way better for you and the economy than just giving free frags to a MAC-10.
And so that 3-man stack is going to end up splitting away, primarily over towards CT right now as they're holding in there. I believe they left Nekis up on top or closer to the A site. Besides that, it's going to be a hold towards CT primarily with the standard 2 still sitting on the B site. And it looks like actually moving Yell off that B site now to check more so towards mid. So they're definitely banking on Envy trying to go for a straightforward A play again, and they're right to do that. The problem is still working with pistols for the most part at the end of the day, minus Steel save, so not going to have much to hold off this push, especially with the double smoke on Cross. Just no way for them to really throw any real firepower at their opponents at this point in the round here. Steel, though, is going to strike first with 2 kills, actually. Yell gets a third. What is happening right now? Envy are falling apart at the seams on that A site. No plan even to be seen now, and they're under 30 seconds on the clock.
Again, one of the weapons is a Max 10. Luckily changed out for an AK-47, so now JDM has to step up. Has to lock down this entire CT area. Make sure if someone pushes out, he can take control of them. But he's taken out even before the long flank comes in. And now Cutler all alone has to cross the 1v5, and there's no way this is going to happen. Also with the timer going down so low, 1 HP will burn out by the fire. And Envy will get upset completely by 1 AK and 4 pistols.
I mean, well done, Steel, my man. Very well played. And with that, yeah, we can see how it formulated too. He gets a second kill off that boost up as well. Really good positioning, and then he even follows it up with the third one that he finds a car a little bit later on there too. So great stuff from Steel. Pretty much single-handedly brings that back, and that was the only real major weapon they had that entire round, if you remember. They were on a full eco besides that, so not only is that a stolen victory right out of the hands of Envy, that's just a major upset and an economy boost on top of all that.
Yeah, and also the economy of the opposition. Like, this has been a close game so far, so they're basically forcing them on Deagle's P250s and 1 smoke on Cutler. So this should be a rather easy round for Luminosity. And this is what I'm talking about constantly. Yes, even if you're losing rounds, keeping your opposition low on money. So whenever you grab a round, or 2 rounds in a row if it's further into the game, you can get them straight on the eco and almost get that free round. But then again, if they save an AK, Steel showed us what can happen.
Yeah, pretty much. Single-handedly kept his entire team alive, I think, in the process, too. At most, Luminosity lost like 1 player on that last round, so really, really clean stuff from them. Very well performed, and now they've got a chance to close this out and take the lead, although there's going to be some problems on the B site. Penny getting knocked out. There's a quick trade to put off some of the pressure that was towards CT, but it's JDM now armed with the op drop from Henny a second ago. Is going to be able to use that to steal a frag away from Steel. Maybe overstaying his welcome a little bit at window, though, as he loses a good chunk of HP, but re-peeks the door anyway. He's been seen, but doesn't matter. We'll swing out a little bit wider to find the next pick on Neckes and bring Luminosity down to just 2 now for the retake.
Molotov will block off the window position. Lucas and Yell, they have to push in now. JDM has been a nuisance in this round so far. And here comes the push from the CTs.
JDM somewhat ready for it, but panicking as the pressure comes out the tunnel, and that's going to allow for 2 of the 3 kills they need. The problem is time so low, drone delays, won't be able to get the kill. And now the question is, did they make it to the bomb in time? I think they did, just barely in fact, and with it, Luminosity picks up the round again. And now the lead at 3-2.
If that P250 did 10 more damage, that round would have gone the other way. It's such a small difference from winning or losing a round between these 2 teams right now. Very, very close, and giving us a good image of how this match actually could pan out. Could go all the way, because so far it's not much separating them, and it's individual players stepping up and individual players making it happen. For example, this round here should have been very one-sided, but JDM just steps up, grabs 2 frags with the AWP, and changes everything. Down the full buy for both teams, double AWP set up on CT. 1 AWP on JDM, of course, on the T side, and decent sets of utility on CT, missing a bit on the T side, so that might come and bite them at the end of the round if they want to go for full-on execute.
Speaks volumes that the cleanest round we've had so far was the round nicely really picked from Henny, and he might have a chance for more here. In fact, they're walking right into him right now. Nifty and JDM. He's going to even swing out wide here, look for a 3rd pick. He knows they're coming. There it is. It's going to be Poyo knocked out next. Number 4, you going to take a chance at it? It's not looking like it. We're going to see Drone play out aggressively towards the mid doors instead, where he'll find success being able to take down Steel. That success, however, as we can see, might be short-lived. He's being crept up upon by multiple players, but for now, hasn't been able to avoid their wandering eyes. It's Yell, though, that'll have a great chance in a second, because they think those lower tunnels are clear. That's not the case. And Yell might as well just clean up the last man as well. Nose Drone was here a moment ago, but nice shot from Drone. The aggressive push from him almost gives his life away a moment later, but he'll spin back around, try to win out one more 1v1. But unfortunately, that one will be a failure. And with that, LG will take the round.
It just seems weird to me when you have this long setup where you have 3 players down towards long with AKs. Yes, they mollo off, but they only mollo car after losing the 2 first individual players. So what you want to do is force out the AWP off his position the second that the first guy goes down. And then when you have him forced out, you go for the double peek. That means the first guy peeks. If he gets taken out, you re-peek. And you make sure that you at least get, even though you're at a disadvantage man-wise, you still get the map control and get that one refrag. But in this case, nothing just happens for them. And Henry, it's just free frags for him. He can go and take every single duel he wants with an advantage to himself. And this round, obviously, thanks to the money, they're just getting picked apart right now. Luminosity going to be on 5 soon.
Nothing happening this round for Envy, unfortunately, on the Eco, as they try to take a couple of duels with the Deagle towards mid, and for the most part are just shut down systematically by LG. And that's going to remain the case as Steel moves forward to complete the team ace there, as everyone's going to be contributing this time on the anti-Eco, picking up a kill.
Very nicely done by Luminosity. Looking solid so far. A couple of upset rounds from Envy, but nothing strung together so far. And that's the problem with Envy, right? Because we know that these players, all 5 of them, can individually step up and do something crazy, but if you can't have a consistent, strat-wise way of approaching things, then it's going to be so hard if you have to constantly say, okay, yeah, we just need someone to grab 3 frags in order for us to win a round. Every single other top team in the world have consistent setups, so they don't need, let's say, a player to go crazy every single round. And that's the problem for Envy right now. They need that in order to get rounds. That's not good for the future.
The rounds in general are playing out in a really unpredictable nature right now. I was going to make a point out that the cleanest round that we've had so far in the game was the round where Steel had the single AK and the rest of his team was saving. That was actually like the most one-sided round we've seen so far in the game. Besides that, every single round, even Ecos and anti-Ecos, have been incredibly close so far. So it's very hard for either team to properly predict how they think a round's going to play out, just because it's been so unpredictable.
Yeah. And that's what we're going to get with these two teams. It's going to be a scrappy fight, but an entertaining one nonetheless, because you never know how it's going to go. Nekis with 1 frag and then putting down the Molotov to rotate back. Overstaying is welcome here a little bit, but he's not getting punished yet for it. Cutler will find Lucas, and now rotating back, re-smoking mid up.
It's going to be quiet days for the time being for Envy, as they do hold on the outside of that door, not looking to re-aggress anytime soon, instead transitioning to the top of Xbox in order to move a few more players over towards Cat. Steel, though, has crept through the smoke at the main door. Now looking to get aggressive. Spots the bottom of 1 player, but is not going to stick around to complete the kill. Instead, tries to do it with a nade, but it'll be off its mark, only netting 2 more damage against Cutler.
The opposition towards long is so strong here. They smoke it off. That's very nicely done.
He's going to try to duck down here. Unfortunately, doesn't have a great angle to play off, but the first player misses the Q, so doesn't warn the rest of his teammates. He knows he's got a second player that's trying to wrap onto the actual site, and he knows it's not advantageous to take the duel at this point in the round when he's got plenty more teammates looking to rotate in. They've got an even out of a 3v3 that's good enough for now, so they back up and try to play for retake instead.
It's a tough one for Luminosity, but definitely still doable. If Nekis can come and open up from long, then I will let in a whole another avenue of access open. Nifty. Oh, there we go. That's the opening. And now only 2 players remaining, but JDM and CT spawn is key here.
It was a curveball for sure, but they're going to jump onto the defuse regardless, and Yell has the support on it. JDM realized it, but I believe he's far too late. Peeks up on Cat just as the bomb is getting defused, so misses his opportunity completely. And Luminosity in the 2v1 will sneak off the defuse, taking another round out of the hands of Envy.
So 2 things that I would like to point out here is the way that, yes, they see that, okay, there could be an AWP at this car position, we need to smoke them out, but they kind of miss the smoke by a couple of meters. You can throw that smoke so it covers off the whole area, which basically forces the car position player to go up towards slope and hold that position, which is way harder. And also in that last 2v2 or 2v3, when JDM decides to rotate up the short, what I would like for him to do in that scenario much better would be just to push in, make a lot of noise from CT, and then open up for his teammate onto short to clutch the round from there. He can make a lot of noise, pretty much sell the whole thing, and then make a lot of space for his teammate. But instead, he goes for the full-on clutch and says, okay, I'm going to win the round from short. I'm not going to play for the 2v2. I'm going to play for my own chance, which is something that former star players and players who have had a really, really high level before and not really are on that level anymore, still a very good player, JDM, they'll have that kind of thing where they believe that they can win a round. They're so confident in their own ability, which isn't bad, but sometimes it can be a bit too much.
Well, we've got Envy moving out quickly to try and evolve the rest of their push into a quick B hit, and Yell seems none the wiser at this point. They run right up towards him. Is still going to be able to at least take one to the grave, though, as he gets traded up by Cutler, taking Drone down with him. It leaves Luminosity still in a very strong position, though. 4v2 retake, but at the very minimum, Envy do get the B site, so this is somewhat winnable for them, if not incredibly difficult. The first peek from Cutler nets him a kill for Envy. Now down to 3 on the retake side. The rest of Luminosity trying to push through the tunnel. Now it's even, but an overpeek from Poyo nets him the loss of his own life. And Cutler trying to hold on his own, goes back in, finds the trade on Anekis, bringing this into a 1v1. And even better for him, time is getting low, meaning Henny's going to be forced to push the issue in a second. Trades out is up for an M4, but time is now too low. Needs to push on a Cutler to take him out right now. Is he going to find him in time? Yes, but I don't think he has enough time to get onto that bomb. Let's see, the defuse is going off, and no, he'll run away. Envy outlast the timer and finally find a 3rd round for themselves.
Down to the wire once again. The point that you made before, like all of these rounds are so close. Not a lot of players surviving, not a lot of money being brought in, constantly forced up economy. Coming down to basically the last 1v1, 2v2 of the round every single time.
Yeah, on average, we're really only looking, with the rare exceptions of a full team surviving, we're really only looking at most, like 2 players staying alive on the winning team on each of these rounds. So this is just really rough for any team to try and keep a bit of a economy continuity going, just because there's so many interruptions, even on things like anti-ecos that I was talking about before. It's a very, very rough game for both teams to play through, and I would imagine for the CT side, it's a little bit worse as well.
Yeah, with the AWP misses the opening shot. How did that happen? I don't even know what happened to them, but Lucas comes in with another one. Neck is down to Cutler, but refracking constantly going on for Envy, so that's at least something that's working out for them. The refracts, but Drone gets caught, and the backup there in lower is not there yet. Steel is just going for it right now. He's feeling it. Here's the footsteps. Gets so much information out of it. Might even get the frag as well. Steel, everything's working out for him right now.
Second time that he's been able to push through his smoke at mid-doors and find success. Actually gets a kill this time out of it too, where previously he was only able to light up a player for about 80 HP. Regardless though, it's trapped JDM. He's now stuck between a rock and a hard place here. He's going to try to make a move into CT. It works. Gets himself in. Hasn't been able to spot Henny's position yet though, and that's going to be the dangerous part.
Yeah, Henny heard that drop. That's the problem when you want to do that CT drop if someone is on the site. Like, he has to be so far away and long, unless like he's going to hear it every single time. So it's kind of like a gamble to drop in there, because you give your position away, but you trade it for an even better position. But if they just know, you're just going to be peeked out. What about that one missed op shot to begin with?
Yeah,
that was crazy.
He had to have like moved at the very last second or something.
Maybe he just got sealed.
That looked dead on to both of us, but that's one for the demo review right there. That's what that one is. We'll let the people with access to slow-mo take a look at that one.
Cutler. Not moving slow this time around. Quickly aggressing onto short. Taking map control and waiting for a pop flash maybe. Not just shoulder peeking. No reason to use a flashbang if no one's peeking it, so rather save that for later when we want to go onto this A-bomb side. A good flash timing towards Henny and smoke. Could actually make this happen. Maybe even a smoke towards long and then the pop flash over towards the site. Let's wait and see. Missed shot by Henny. That's going to give them an opportunity to go onto the site.
Spray from Lucas, but it does do good damage to Cutler. Unfortunately, he's going to get run over by a big push seconds later. That at the minimum will give Envy site access in another plant.
Yeah,
brings us into a 4v4 as well for the retake. Yes,
they do invest in head armor, but already now having the bomb down in a 4v4, that's perfect for them. They could not have wanted more.
Moving directly out of the open here. It's going to bring Nifty into the fold here, doing a decent amount of damage, although struggling now to find shots. There's the correction, however, to take out Neckis, and in the process, saw Yell finding a kill a moment ago there too, trying to trade out a little bit more. They're not able to get access to the site just yet. There's another pickup from Yell as the CTs continue to find traction here, but Drone's gonna push in. The double kill is followed quickly upon that as he finds Yell and Steel and Henny. He's just gonna give up. They're not even going to attempt it, and he's mad about that too. Very vocal on his camera if you saw that at the bottom. So we are gonna see Envy mainly through the efforts of Drone at the end of the round.
And that's the problem when you get that short plant going in. They have 2 players. Yes, they only have pistols, but 2 players towards short and 1 player at the double box. Over in Europe, we call it Gandalf. Not exactly sure what you call it here. But basically, if you have that 1 guy alive on the side, he can just bait, and then 1 guy can go out and bait short. If he dies, that's not a problem. The second guy can come in. And if the plant is for short, it doesn't matter if you have a deagle on an M4. You just need 1 bullet, basically, to take down the bomb diffusion. You can hold out the time for so long. But look at that from Lucas. Fully flashed, doesn't care.
Pretty sure it was full speed running when he shot that as well. I don't know how that connected.
But he's taking it, that's for sure. Happy about it. Team Envy will take that round as well. Very happy about low investment round turning into a win.
Steel's going to be patiently waiting on top of the bricks now, trying to see if he can edge out any early aggressors onto the B-bomb site. And there is one trying to challenge. The problem is going to be whether that player is actually going to check this, because on the op, trying to pre-fire for this top box position is going to prove to be a little bit brutal. But he's got teammates to support. The problem is they're not checking the upper side. So Steel gets away with one, and he's also able to dispatch one of the Ts. Misses the second follow-up shot, but now Steel can regress. The problem is they're waiting for him this time. Drone finds the trade. Lucas on the flank, but whiffing shots left and right. Seems he used all his luck on the first kill here, and now he's going to get pushed, but there we go, back into the fray. And Yell will find the final kill to put Luminosity back in control of the matchup.
Even though this round goes to Luminosity, I have to say, so far in this game, like Drone, probably the smallest name on this NV lineup, has actually had some decent shots throughout this game. Like every single time we see his POV, he goes into a straight 1v1, instant headshots the opposition. And currently he's at 10-11, which isn't all too bad considering it's a 4-8 scoreline. So I just want to highlight that. He's one of those players that usually doesn't really get mentioned that much when you have players like JDM and Nifty on the lineup. You want to mention them more than perhaps a player like Drone who hasn't had that big history in CSGO yet.
A little bit of aggression again coming out from Luminosity to start things off as they push in for mid-control both of the doors and on Cat. Neck is going to straight up run in. We'll get the one-for-one trade, but Henny and Lucas will now be able to maintain control of the round with the 2 additional kills that they find. It's brought it down to Cutler and Nifty now for Envy. Both split up, but one is going to try to make a push into the B site and unfortunately meet an untimely demise. Steel will take him down. It's all on Cutler with the Deagle. He'll play a nice patient game, see what he can get. If it's nothing, it's no big deal. The round should be safely tucked away for Luminosity at this point, and there's the finalizing kill.
And in this round, we also see like the good old LG playstyle where you just go very aggressive. You know, okay, the opposition, they don't have a lot of money, they don't have like a big investment. Let's just go and really get in their face, demotivate them, just show them that we control the pace of the game. And that's the kind of style that led these players, like if you think back to Lucas and Henny and also Steel in that sense, back when they were on Immortals. That was the kind of style that got them to being one of the like top 10 team, top 15 team in the world back then. That's what I wanted to see like come back more, like that no respect play where you kind of just go in and say, okay, we're going to control this game from the beginning to the end. And it doesn't matter if you have a buy or like just an eco, we're just going to be in your face all the time. And it's a very risky style, and a lot of teams will not be able to do it. But I think it fits on the last game. This one's pretty easy though. But as always, when you expect something to be easy, it gets really, really difficult.
And of course, the scoped gun is going to be the harbinger of Envy's demise for this round, as it's now all down to Polio. Unfortunately, those ecos just not going to bring the firepower they need to ruin any of these rounds out. So Luminosity walk their way through another one here and go. Take us into the last round of the half here now with a pretty solid lead being established at 10-4, I believe is where we're currently at.
The good old AUG coming into play. It's actually quite like, it's an interesting gun in this current meta because on the CT side, it's really doable. You can have at least one of your players. I would always, like if you have a player who can really learn the spray patterns, on CT side, if you have a full buy, always get one AUG. It is so strong, especially in those mid-range battles. M4 is still, of course, one of the better options, but in specific situations, the AUG can be better, but trades back and forth. Cutler will get that double. And now a 4v2.
It seemed to be a situation that Envy might have been able to control pretty well there, or excuse me, that LG would have been able to control pretty well there too, but over-aggressive, and they're going to continue to lose more players as they try to follow that aggression through the top mid push. Now the entire map is open for the taking, and I think Envy realizes that the A side is quite literally completely open. There is an op-shot connection from Steel. Through the wood though, Putt, great follow-up nade to finish the job on Nifty. Secures that kill at least, but has to use his really only piece of utility in order to do it. This is a great read though. Spots the flank from JDM to take him down. Now he's been able to bring this into a 1v2 within just a few seconds.
Yeah, he does have a kit as well. And picked up an AK, so this is definitely doable. If you can find the first one, he's just running straight in.
Just going to go right for it. Walks himself up to the site. He's got both the T's stacked together here too, so he can find one. Good chance he can find the other one, but unfortunately is caught off guard. Will be shut down, and we do see one more round from Envy. One more shining module of light at the end of their tunnel here, but unfortunately still a monstrous half from their opponents that sets up a 5-10 half in Envy's disadvantage.
And even though, yes, we have to compliment Cutler on such a great round, in a more holistic image, like him getting that 3K, yes, it's nice in this individual round, but it just shows us once again, Envy are only getting rounds when someone steps up and does something out of the ordinary. And that's a big problem if you think about this as a best-of-3 game, because yet we haven't seen anything from Envy that can kind of show us, okay, we can really believe in their format as a team and the way that they can play strategically. We haven't seen that yet. We've seen individual players step up, and that's how they got in these 5 rounds. We need to see more out of them as a team, not just as individuals. And I fear that could be the problem for Envy, because I don't think anyone doubts that the individual skill on this team is at a respectable level where they could do very well. But the way that they're playing as a unit is not where it should be yet. And of course, that's fair enough since they are a newer team. But at this point, I would like to see that progress through this best of 3, and we can see more strategical, team-based round wins instead of these rounds where Cutler comes up with something big, or Drone gets something done, or Nifty even steps up, or JDM with y'all.
I'm hoping that we get a little bit more competitive in the second half, because I think the CT side is going to be a tad nicer to Envy when it comes to just the way the rounds play out, since these two teams are in very similar positions right now. I'm actually a bit worried for Luminosity if they don't get off to a strong start of this pistol. But let's take a look at Luminosity really wasting no time. The problem is they've been cut off in these upper tunnels. JDM is going to be able to rip through 2 of them. Him and his teammate are blocking off the third, and this third player, well, he's the last man standing. So with Drone's kill, that ends the round, and it's Envy off to a hot start again by taking control of the pistol.
Really nice pistol round there from Envy, banking on the fact that Luminosity are going to go for a variant of a B, either split or just straight push with the timing. So they clear basically out the bottom of teammate and then go straight into lower tunnel. So they're kind of gambling on the fact that, okay, it's going to be B push, and then they have the perfect timing. If this was a split A, then yes, this would not have worked out perfectly for them. This would have been a very different round. But in this specific scenario, very nicely done by Envy. They get it done, make the right decision as a team, and go with it.
Nade from Playo. Doesn't actually do a whole lot of damage, and of course the flash is going to lead to his untimely demise. JDM pops up a pretty nice shot, but unfortunately the damage is relatively minimal compared to what was done to him. He gets dinked, I'm pretty sure, down to 23 HP. But the pressure that is seen from him around the corner is enough to send Luminosity back, and Envy are aware of it, so they're keeping watch towards mid, and even on that B side watching for one of these quick rotates, which Luminosity is bitten into, so even they know they've been spotted here now, and this could cause quite a bit of a mess in the tunnels, as now both teams are going to choose to fight here. And
you can just see it on the minimap. So many PC players situated around mid and B. Drone will actually lose that duel and only get a 1-for-1 trade, even though his weapon is way better than the opposition. So now it's a 3v3. A couple of weapons have been picked up from the T side. This is not impossible anymore. This was a straight eco, like Glocks and P250s. And it's down to a 3v3. Envy cannot be happy about this. It doesn't even matter how the rounds end by now. Like, whatever happens, they cannot be happy about it.
It is looking like Envy has just tried to go for a 1-1-1 split. And the best chance to defend the entire map since, well, with Luminosity spotting their own rotate, they knew exactly how the counter was going to work out. It's 2 more quick kills found by Luminosity, as Envy unfortunately can't close out any of these 1v1s. Finally, a kill is found by Nifty to at least lighten his chances a little bit here. With Luminosity now having the plan on the ground and plenty of time to set up their post plants here too, since Nifty's taking his time wrapping around through long. It's going to be very tough indeed for Nifty to close this out, as he's working with basically 0 intelligence in the post plant at this point. Well, run in, no, should be able to find one in the open. That's the easy kill. That's Henny being caught repositioning. And now Yell at low HP. Nifty could do this, but Yell played it nice and quiet, walks right up. It's a quick headshot to close out, as LG once again take control of that second round to upset Envy's economy early in the half.
Very low investment round coming in there from Luminosity, making it work, and you can see the frustration there in Nifty's face. He wanted to clutch that. And to be honest, in that 1v2, like, Nifty is the player that I would most likely want in that situation, so that's nice, but it's just, Envy feel just a little bit off. We see the individual level constantly, and we see them making good decisions here and there, but it's just not a consistent picture, and that's a problem. Like, there's definitely potential. No one can deny that, but it's not fully realized yet.
And that last one's another example of just relying on individual plays, with Nifty having to try to go for a closeout, very well thought out attempt to try to close that out too. Gets very close to doing it. If he if he just checks that one more position, he wins that. If that's an open, 1v1 fight between the two of them, his opponent was only on 15 HP when it came down to the wire. It was just unfortunate, checked the wrong spot, and that's one of those individual plays that falls flat. And that's the problem with Envy, is they're relying too much on them. If it goes the other way, obviously they're still winning rounds, they're still keeping this match competitive, but when they fall flat, it's when Luminosity kicks ahead and we end up at the scoreline that we have now.
Steal. Let's see if he's going to get a couple of free frags in the smoke here. Movie highlight. Oh, he gets the prize.
He knew it was coming too, just didn't time it right. We are going to see Envy continue to do decent damage as they found a second kill against Yell. It's now being held back by the 3 remaining players, but not so securely. Another kill is found, in fact, but Lucas tapping away is going to dispatch of 3 of those players trying to push on Cat. Cutler, surprisingly, was not with this main group when they pushed up. I believe he was just back watching the flank, but he's now going to be put into a position where there's really no chance for him to get out and defuse this. He's not really going to want to take the battle. Luminosity will back away, save their own guns, and for Cutler, there's an AK to run away with, so at least he gets that.
Yeah, like, not a bad result if you think about it. At the beginning, if you told Team Envy, okay, you're going to have a full eco, we're going to offer you 2 frags plus an AK saved, they would just say, okay, yeah, that's no problem, let's just not play the round, let's just grab that. But in the big picture of the game, it's becoming like a bit too close now because Luminosity are on 12 already. They're going to have this buy round. Team Envy are going to buy all the way down. Cutler is the only one who's not at like $0 basically. That means if Luminosity wins this, gets on 13, it's going to be the pistol eco or some kind of low investment round coming in from Envy. Luckily, if you're a Luminosity fan, Henny's there for the case to shut down Nifty. Individually, one of the best, if not the best player on the team. So this is looking tough for Envy, man.
Yeah,
they're on the brink of it.
And as we take a look at the individuals again, that's one thing that's really been there for Luminosity, I think, is the op presence from Henny. Is something that we've been seeing very consistently across the board through this entire map. A great trade from Cutler, but again, speaking of Henny, it's right there to pick up those trade kills and keep Luminosity competitive in these more close-knit rounds that we're often seeing, even away from the gun rounds here. So it's back down to a 3v3, and we are going to see Luminosity push into the B site just as they're pushing in. Drone, it's called rotating out by the door. It's going to be eliminated. Yell with the Krieg in hand this time. Lucas there for 2 more pickups back at mid. Nice adjustment onto the mid door to find JDM and shut down the rest of the round for LG, putting them on that pivotal 13-round marker. And
once again, we see a round where you see small signs, small good signs from Envy. For example, that 2-man stack onto short really works out for them. They have the MP9 in the backup of the M4, so if the MP9 dies, the refrag comes in instantly and they get a 1-for-1 trade plus keeping map control. In this case, they actually get the straight kill with the MP9 and just keep map control plus getting a free frag. Isolated, that works, but the rest of the round just crumbles. Lucas will actually get a flashbang, so this might work out for the CT.
Nekus is going to be safe here. He wants the kills, because he can play it aggressively. Luminosity's at a point now, especially on these anti-ecos, where they can afford to be a little bit more aggressive. So they chuck the bomb away and just go kill hunting. They've got it down to only Drone now on Envy's side, who is going to get the surprise drop on Nekis. The problem is he's got more players waiting on the outside, tries to follow it up with a very quick push and nearly connects the op shot, but does unfortunately fall to a grenade seconds later. And again, it's Luminosity leading the charge now at 14.
This is it from Luminosity. Small words of encouragement from the Envy coach there. That's also something that I haven't really noticed that much. Like the amount of timeouts being taken, even though Envy, they're on a 6-14 and haven't really done well so far in the game, apart from a couple of key rounds. Not a lot of timeouts have been taken by the coach. And there are definitely like small things that could be tweaked on. So that's also a thing that one could think about as an argument. This game is over. What Team Envy could do different?
And at the moment, LG are just really walking around the map, picking up kills left and right here. Henny once again showing up with the op frags for his team. Nifty, the good trade on the op on his side, nearly gets caught by Henny. It's surprising again that that shot does not connect, but Henny a little bit off the mark that time, I think. But anyway, the plant's gone down. Luminosity already well set up in their post plant too, and for Envy, there's not really any positions where they can do anything at this point. Steel has the flank block. They're going to see this push at top mid. Bye-bye to Pollo. And it's now left Nifty alone, and they're very well aware of where he's playing from, so it shouldn't be too much more effort to pinch him out, and there you go. 15-6 as Luminosity goes on a map point for this opening map of the series.
Looking very, very solid, and as we would probably expect, if they get that momentum, if they get the feeling that, okay, we can control this game, we can just like take this game and say, okay, yeah, you're not going to do anything, we're just going to push you, it doesn't matter if it's TP or T. Just going to get straight in your face all the time, play that old school, Mortals LG style. As we also see the good old auto come out. Drone though, ready behind the smoke, ready and waiting and doing a big amount of damage. Cutler as well on this B bomb site. Clearly working out for the CTs.
That was a bit odd from Luminosity. Seemed like they were like ready to go at the door, but for whatever reason, really delayed the push when they got to the outside of smoke, and because one player was slightly overexposed, we just see that fall apart into one player holding from Envy, and it's going to continue to be problems here. Nekiz now gets caught over pushing the mid doors. Pollo finds the pickup on him at close range. And for Lucas and Yell, at a 2v4, they've got alright utility sitting on Yell, but Lucas at 19 HP working with the op. I think he's too big of a risk where I could really confidently say Luminosity have a good chance to get back into this. The only thing that's working their way is the fact that A is relatively undefended, and more importantly, that Cutler just missed a chance to cut these guys off on Cat. But even as they move up to the site, Envy are going to be 2 steps behind them here. So this is going to be very tough to pull off for Luminosity, but let's see if they can do it. That initial pick is found by Lucas. He's going to go back over here. Is he expecting the second man to come from Cat? Regardless, moving in incredibly slowly, so it is going to let the players move up from CT a little more, and that will continue to challenge Yell, who already took massive damage seconds ago, and is now going to get finished by Polio as Drone finds the pickup on the Lucas there.
Once again, like the B setup initially works out for Cutler and Drone. They do a really good job of doing initial damage and then rotating around. Drone also getting the last kill of the round to just secure it. So there are some highlights and some good points here for the Envy guys. We see that it can happen, it can work out, but it's just not consistent yet. And if they get slammed straight back down now, that would be very bad for their temperament and also just in general feel of this tournament, since they will go down in a 0-1 in the elimination series.
And it has been hard for Envy to win more than one round in a row. In fact, they've only done that once so far.
Exactly.
Where they were able to take more than one round off their opponent. So this is an incredibly trying match for Envy. And the current track record does not seem to implicate that they would be able to follow this up, but let's see. This is it now, of course, with their backs against the wall. They don't have any other choice but to try and win these rounds out, and they need to run 8 of them straight just to have a chance at overtime for this opening map. Otherwise, Luminosity will take the lead in the series, and that will take us, I believe, over to Overpass for our second map.
That is true. Lock Molotov. Unfortunate.
It's always so much better when you don't actually see, just hear it in the background and go, well, someone messed up. But we've got Luminosity definitely going to be throwing pressure over towards Cat in these first couple seconds of the round. Seems like the Molly may have delayed things slightly. They did apply another one to the top side and have control of the actual elbow area of Cat now. Just a matter of moving up to the site, which I think they just need to get 1 or 2 more people in a position in order to do that, and then they can execute. But Envy stands ready. They've got the usual setup to stop this with 1 standing watch at long and the 2 other players on the A site. Here come the smokes, though, so let's see if Luminosity can make this push happen.
JDM anti-flash will now peek out. Nekiz is dropped into CT. That's why that smoke was dropped, the secondary one. And they're actually going to go for the B split through the CT control.
Evolved here. Nifty stands ready at the window, drops the bomb, and the first player from Luminosity on top of it. They're going to get pushed by a second. Nifty, plenty of time to adjust to steal. Missed what should have been an easy kill opportunity. Nekiz and Henny will try to bring this back as they're the last 2 standing, each getting a kill for themselves. But Drone still being a problem here on the actual site. Sees most of Luminosity out to dry in mid, and that's going to lead to the elimination of Nekiz. Henny goes for 1 more, but in the process, Drone will push out the door, finishing off the round and keeping Envy alive. As for only the 2nd time in this match, they win multiple rounds in a row.
Nice choice there of just going for the B split. Something that we've seen so far and something that they probably noticed as well is that Luminosity just likes to play that, or Envy likes to play that AAA setup where they just go 1 long and 1 towards car, 1 towards side. They see that, they recognize that, drop the smoke down to the B split. So the initial strat is actually a nice thought from Luminosity, but they just lose their individual duels and Steel just whiffing a big spray. But now, Yell's pistol. Not like this. Not like this.
The only thing here is the bomb, right? The bomb's still way back in mid, and they're kind of under control here now with Envy picking away at them. The bomb should actually be able to walk up because they don't have forward Cat presence yet, but if they get 1 more kill, it's all over here. Bomb finally arrives up to the site, but it's stuck in the smoke now, and it looks like Envy do hold off the side. It was definitely looking scary there for a second. But thankfully, Nifty and I think 1 more player as long were able to hold them off and catch a few players from LG getting a tad over aggressive.
And now we're getting into this kind of territory where the comeback seems kind of possible once again. Like 3 rounds ago, it almost seemed impossible, and the team has that same feeling when you're sitting at like 6, 7 rounds. Oh yeah, we're just going to see how many rounds we can take so we feel better going into map 2. But now sitting around 9, if you get that round number 10 and force the money down for the opposition, then you have a decent chance of actually taking it to 0-2. So this is a really strange territory. Cutler, though, very nicely done. Starts the round off great, finding Yell. Initial CT presence being put down with the smokes. Cutler completely under control, and I have to say, he's been playing a hell of a game so far. Him and Drone specifically are the two standout players for Team Envy, and with a team where you have JDM, Poyo, the new guy, and Nifty, Drone and Cutler are the usual two players that you don't see step up frag-wise, but they are doing this in this game.
Luminosity is still struggling to try and find counters to a lot of this aggression that we've seen from Envy. It's more them finally successfully winning out duels is the more important thing. JDM striking true on Catwalk is able to eliminate Lucas. Polio's got a great lineup, so that's another easy frag, knocking out Steel. And for Henny, there's just not really hope anymore here. He was sitting just behind one of his teammates, hoping for a chance to push back in, but he's got an opponent already waiting outside of the tunnel, in addition to Flash support sitting a little bit deeper in the site. And he's just going to maximize damage at this point. Will miss the opening shot that he takes. He knows he's going to get pinched from the lower tunnels here soon as well. So he'll back out towards T-spawn and into the open courtyard. Even that's going to counter out. Sees his opponent, but it doesn't matter. Polio picks up the final kill and is another very straightforward round. His Envy finally seems to be getting some footing in this match.
Double digits as well now, and will force the opposition onto an eco or low investment round. So, as I said before, like, this is where the replay, or the not the replay, but the kind of like chance of going back into this game and getting overtime, like, it becomes real. This is not just a fairy tale anymore. This is only 5 rounds away, and also it's a difficult place to be as a player, because now pressure is on back again. Like, when you're sitting 6-15, there's not a lot of pressure on. You know, okay, the game is probably lost either way. We can just try and salvage something so we don't look as bad. But now the pressure's back on because it's real now. It's only 5 rounds in a row and they take it. And let's see how it affects them when we reach this next buy round, because then they're on the verge of getting 12, 13 rounds. It's going to be, this next buy round is going to be super, super key. These Deagles, don't underestimate them. They can still do damage.
Yeah, they're still going to look for the win on this round, and nearly were able to overwhelm the A site just 2 or 3 rounds ago, actually. Very similar circumstances. Fortunately, this time they're working with a little bit less utility. I think at least on that previous round they had some smokes to get out on a cat. This time they've got quite literally nothing besides their Deagles. So they're relying on nice headshots only to get them into the site, and so far that hasn't been working out too well. They've been picked quite low for a few of their players. Try to pressure out towards Long now, nets them half the HP off of Cutler. But again, the damage is returned in nearly even strides. We are going to start to see some of those T's fall off the board, with Polio taking a duel at Cat. Knocks out both Lucas and Yell, and I think they're going to push for a third, but in the meanwhile, Long is taken in the process. Steel will be able to find the actual first kill for Luminosity. Nekis follows that up as well. It's this cross towards CT, though, as everyone else on Cat's been dealt with. That was the only real risk they had to worry about, and without any Cat control, there's no way that any of those Long players are going to be able to get across the threshold.
Right. Let's see what Envy can do now. And I see the coach talking. Could be a timeout. I would definitely agree with taking a timeout right now, just to make absolutely sure that everything is going to go the way you want it. It's not going to be a timeout, just a few words of encouragement during the freeze time, which is fair enough. This is what it all comes down to for Envy. If they can make this work, there's a real possibility of them grinding this all the way back due to a very strong CT side.
What a comeback that would have been. I think it would have been 9 rounds in a row.
Yeah. In
order for them to pull that off. Envy certainly closing the gap. They've got quite a few more pivotal rounds to get over here before they are truly in the money and close to tying this back up and taking us to overtime. Luminosity, though, seem frozen in these first 30 to 40 seconds of the 27th round. Not really doing much besides posturing up outside of the long doors and keeping Lucas down at lower tunnels to watch for any aggression that would happen through the mid doors or a flank from upper. But that is quite literally it. We haven't seen Luminosity explore any other options in the round, and they're just now pushing in Long with under a minute on the clock. Polio seems ready for it and does great damage to 2 different players, but still falls outright and gives Luminosity the 5v4 advantage to start the round.
Also nice refrag setup in that scenario. Even if Polio gets a kill, the secondary player is going to step right in and take kill and map control. Always nice when you can have 2-3 players to take that initial long control. If there's only one CT, you can ensure that not only do you win the map, but also trade either 1-for-1 or actually just win a straight-up duel. It's a nice way to start it, but now only 30 seconds remaining. Luminosity, they have to move in. It's going to be the A play.
A quick push in. The smoke is not entirely flush, so JDM gets a slight early warning on some of these pushes. Not going to feel confident to contest it, though, as they get across the threshold. And instead he'll choose to fall back further on a Cat. Drone leaping out, getting away with a missed shot from Henny. tries to go for a number 2, but is taken out by Yell a second later. They're bringing this into a 4v3 now with Luminosity having solid A site control. Just need to hold this in the game as theirs after a very, very long comeback streak from Envy. But Envy may not be done just yet. It's JDM that picks up the next trade kill. And it's going to open up a chance for the last 2 players on Envy to try and push in from Cat. Here they come. There's good utility to use here as well, so it's really going to restrict Luminosity's vision on these 2 as they move in. But regardless, one falls and the other falls moments later. So it's Luminosity that finally end it and take the first map of this series, 16-11.
And when the comeback started to become real, that's where the hope crumbles. That's where everything just falls apart, because it's the super strong mental thing to kind of go in and, oh yeah, we're 6-15 down, we're just going to do whatever. But now it becomes a reality, and then everything just hits you in a different way.
Yeah, I think the predictions from the desk and from us were right, though. Very scrappy first map for sure. A lot of back and forth going on in the first half, especially between the 2 teams. And it means a lot of work going into the second map here, really, for both of our squads. They want to come out with a win, but certainly a sigh of relief for Luminosity, as now they've got a much easier time of doing that on Overpass.
Definitely. Overpass is going to be the next map. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to be back with that. See you then.